A large popcorn at the movie theater costs around $8. That's nearly the same price as the ticket that got you in. Spend 2 hours watching a movie, and the snack you barely thought about costs as much as the main event. That's not a coincidence. It's a business model. In 2023, Cinemark, one of the 3 largest theater chains in America, pulled in $1.192 billion from food and drinks. That was nearly 40 cents of every dollar they earned from popcorn, soda, and candy alone.
Here's what this video is about. Movie theaters do not actually make their money on movies. The studios take most of the ticket. The theater takes almost all of the popcorn. And that single structural fact explains everything. Why the cup costs $6. Why you can't bring a sandwich in. And why a theater chain manager who reportedly hated popcorn still made $200,000 selling it. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly how a 90-cent bag of corn became the financial engine of a billion-dollar industry.
Start with the ticket. A standard movie ticket in the US runs around $12. Seems like a lot, but the theater doesn't keep most of it. Studios take the majority of ticket revenue. In opening weekend, that share can reach 70 to 90%. Over a film's full run, the average settles somewhere around 50 to 55%. So, from a $12 ticket, a theater might keep $5 or $6 before rent, before staff, before electricity, before the projectors and equipment. And here's the part that changes everything. Concession sales are not shared. The theater keeps 100% of every dollar you spend at the snack counter. 100%. The ticket is split. The popcorn isn't. That's the whole puzzle. Think of it like the razor and blades model. Gillette sells cheap razors to lock you into buying expensive blades. The movie is the cheap razor. The popcorn is the blade. Here's what the numbers look like when they're honest. It costs a theater around 90 cents to produce a bag of popcorn. That figure includes the cup, oil, kernels, and an allocation for the labor involved. At around $8 a bag, that's a markup of roughly 788%. If you strip it down to raw ingredient cost alone, just the corn and oil, the markup is even higher. But take the 90-cent figure. That's still more than $7 of profit on a single bag of popcorn. Now, run that through Cinemark's own earnings report. In 2023, Cinemark spent roughly $200 million on concession supplies, popcorn, soda, cups, all of it, to generate over $1 billion in revenue. That's an 81% gross margin on food and drinks. Concessions are around 30% of a major theater chain's total gross revenue, but they account for roughly 45 to 50% of gross profits. The snack counter is pulling double its weight. And the theater's overhead costs are real. Rent, wages, utilities, maintenance. The concession margin doesn't just become profit, it funds the building. That's the mechanism. High food margin covers for the thin ticket margin. The popcorn is quietly keeping the lights on. This didn't start as a plan. It started as a surrender. Early movie theaters actively banned popcorn. They were trying to replicate the atmosphere of live theater. Carpets, chandeliers, the whole thing. The idea was respectability. Popcorn, in that worldview, was a street food, something for carnivals, definitely not something you brought into a nice establishment. By 1930, 90 million people a week were going to U.S. movie theaters, and many of them were buying popcorn from vendors stationed outside, then checking it with their coats at the door, like they were handing off a small, embarrassing pet. Theaters had 90 million paying customers a week and were actively keeping their most profitable product outside on the sidewalk. The Great Depression ended the argument. When attendance started to thin, the theaters that let vendors inside or started their own concession stands survived. The ones that held the line on decorum didn't. One theater chain manager, a man who reportedly despised popcorn personally, claimed to have made nearly $200,000 selling it in 1938, the same year he was losing money on ticket sales. The thing he hated was keeping him solvent. By 1945, almost half of all popcorn grown in the United States was eaten inside movie theaters. By 1949, 86% of U.S. theaters sold it. A snack that was once banned from the building had become the building's financial reason for existing.
Here's the number that actually says it out loud. In 2018, Cinemark brought in $1.8 billion from ticket sales. After paying distributors their share, about $1 billion, the theater kept roughly $800 million. From the snack counter, $1.1 billion in sales, at a cost of $181 million. The popcorn stand generated more gross profit than every movie they showed, in a year with blockbusters. More from the food. And nobody finds this remarkable enough to mention when you're buying the popcorn. In 2023, Cinemark spent roughly $200 million on everything it took to fill a concession cup and collected $1.192 billion. From tickets, after film costs, it kept roughly 44 cents of every dollar. The snack counter kept more than 80 cents. The food is the business. The movies are the reason to come inside. Here's the part where an economist says, actually, this is fine. Per a study of Spanish movie theater data by researchers Wesley Hartman and Ricard Gill, a peer-reviewed analysis, charging high prices at the concession stand actually keeps ticket prices lower, which brings more price-sensitive customers through the door. The people who can't afford a $20 ticket still get to see the movie for $12. The people willing to pay for the experience, the regulars, the ones who will see anything, subsidize the ticket via the popcorn. The same study found that the heaviest moviegoers, the ones who will see any film regardless of quality, are also the ones most likely to buy the expensive popcorn. So the concession system is doing two things at once, keeping the ticket accessible and charging a premium to the people most committed to being there. It's almost elegant. It is also definitely how they pull serious money from a family of 4 before anyone sat down. One person in Michigan decided to sue AMC over this in 2012. He argued the concession prices were grossly excessive. The lawsuit was dismissed. Because here's the thing, it's completely legal to charge $8 for popcorn. There's no law that says a private business has to price its food rationally. You just can't leave to get cheaper food once you're inside. The building knows that. So let's bust a few things while we're here. First, bringing your own food into a U.S. movie theater is not illegal. No law prohibits it. Theaters have policies against it, but a policy is not a law. And the consequence for ignoring it is that a 17-year-old might ask you to stop. Whether you'd like to spend the rest of the movie worrying about that is between you and your conscience. Second, the popcorn price is not pure greed, even if it feels like it. The CEO of Regal Cinemas reportedly told the Los Angeles Times in 2008 that without high concession prices, a movie ticket would cost $20. That's the trade-off the industry made. Cheap ticket, expensive snack. Third, even with 80% gross margins on popcorn, most independent theater owners are not getting rich. One owner, Paul Turner of Dark Side Cinema in Corvallis, Oregon, put it directly, "I'm not getting rich off what you pay for popcorn and soda." The margin goes straight into rent, utilities, and equipment. Big chains do better. Small theaters survive on the same mechanism, but with much less cushion. There's an old saying in the exhibition industry, find a good place to sell popcorn and build a movie theater there. It reads like a joke. It isn't one. The movie is what gets you in the door. The popcorn is what keeps the door open. The theater you sat in, the seat you chose, the screen in front of you. The popcorn in a stranger's lap 2 rows up helped pay for all of it. And the movie? The movie was the free sample. If the captive market thing is still bothering you, and it should, there's another version of this story that's somehow worse. Airport water is $6 for the same reason popcorn is $8, and the mechanism is almost identical. That one's right over there.